Hello. Today I have with me Dr. Shweta Patel. Dr. Patel is an OBGYN and a women's health expert. She created GaiaWellness.com, where women can meet with their women's health physician online. Dr. Patel provides comprehensive women's health care online to women in Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Indiana, Tennessee, and is expanding to South Carolina, New York, and Georgia with plans to expand nationwide. She also offers the Gaia Wellness Forum on Facebook, which is open to anyone who is ever identified as a woman and who is interested in contributing to women's health concerns. Today, we are going to be discussing her new book, The Book of Hormones, which is coming out November 1st, 2024. It covers women's hormones from puberty to menopause and beyond. Dr. Patel, welcome back. And thank you
Hi.
for coming on to promote your new book.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I was just so excited when you said, hey, you want to come on back? And I'll take every and any opportunity I can to spread the word about this book. I'm not good at that stuff. My strategy is extremely haphazard in marketing, and you inviting me was just a godsend. Like, oh my God,
Oh,
yes, that's a good idea. I
yay.
should do those things.
Okay, so tell me, what was the inspiration of this book? This is a complex topic.
Yes, it is. Honestly, I actually started with a book about everything about a woman. And then I realized how undigestible that was all at once.
Yes.
In fact, I think I was talking to somebody who has written a book before. I was like, I'm coming up with this book. It's just going to be about everything a woman needs to know about herself, her health. And they looked at the outline and then they were like, you realize this is like 13 books, right? And I was like, that's not a bad idea, actually. I'll just
Yeah.
take one each chapter and turn it into a book because they're that big. So that's how I settled on starting with the Book of Hormones, because if there's one thing I think that all of us are constantly, it's a perpetual question in the back of our heads. Is it my hormones? Right.
Isn't
And
like
I
the
swear to
answer
God,
99% of the time yes?
yes.
Okay.
And I think the funny part is the answer is yes, and yet the answer that's received is usually no, it's
Mhm.
not. It's just stress, or
Mhm.
oh, it's the fact that you're not sleeping well, or it's the
Isn't
fact that you
stress also
what? Shut
hormonal?
up.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my God. It's like we planned this conversation or
I
something. You're an
know.
excellent person to have this. It's like you're on cue, man. Whoa. I don't know. I think there's something called cortisol.
It's that one.
Whoa. Whoa.
Doesn't that mess up all the other hormones? Huh?
Right? Yeah. Yes. It totally is such a little shit starter. In fact, in the
I love
book,
that.
I refer to it affectionately as the hold my beer hormone
I love it.
because it's literally that. It's that friend you can't take anywhere because initially you think it's got your back and it's like standing up for you, but then you realize, no, it's just literally waiting for some shit to go down.
Mhm.
And then sticks around too long, doesn't know when to leave, that kind of a thing. That's
You wake up in
cortisol.
the morning, they're on their your couch covered in vomit.
Yeah, and they ate like your parfait.
I
Yeah. And they
hate that.
found out that the milk was bad and they put it back in there.
Rude.
That's cortisol.
Yeah, that's cortisol.
Yeah.
Cortisol's an
So,
asshole.
yeah. And I think that, again, of course, a lot of where these experiences come from, as a woman, I obviously have them myself, but like my bigger arena for this experience fund is my patients and hearing what they experience and then realizing that oftentimes they'll have come from a different provider and they'll recant their experience with that provider. And of course, when somebody tells you like, oh my God, I hated that provider, they didn't hear a single thing I said. Now I'm listening even harder, right? I want to be part of that list of people who they talk about later. So I'm like, tell me everything.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, if you're ever a patient and wonder why I sometimes run over, that's exactly why. So going into the book, I wanted it to be almost like a validation for women that have experienced that sense of dismissal. And I say this with a grain of salt. I don't think any of my physician colleagues ever went to med school with the agenda to grow up one day and become the press for time, quick to dismiss, quick to presume physician. That wasn't the class that we signed up for. But at some point, And part of the reason why, a small part of the reason why I started Gaia Wellness is that we become this version of ourselves as physicians that even we don't really enjoy anymore, which is we don't have time to listen. We don't have time to connect the dots that the patient themselves aren't connecting in their lives and to really give them a more personalized answer rather than the knee jerk reflex response, which is, oh, no, it's probably not that. Or,
Mhm.
no, this is probably what you need. Or, sorry, we don't have time for that. That's all for today. Till next
Mhm.
time. And I think every time that happens, a little small part of the physician's work joy just dies and goes to
Yeah.
heaven somewhere, you know, like it's like,
Mhm.
oh no, there goes my reason for being a physician.
Mhm.
But at least I'll get home an hour late this time and not two. Yay.
Mhm.
So there's so much that goes into hormones that I think both women are right about and also women aren't fully aware about that I think this book will help with. Because when a woman says, I think it's my hormones, she's right and she's not right.
Mhm.
And the reason why she's right is because it is, like you said,
Mhm.
wait, cortisol, that's sleep. And she's not right sometimes also because most often when a woman tells me that, she's referring to her reproductive hormones like
Mhm.
her estrogen and her testosterone. And we've latched on to those players because those are the only ones that we really had any kind of familiarity with. And so whenever anything goes wrong or changes in our life, we think it's probably because of the fact that we're a woman and we don't necessarily have the resources or the know-how about all the others that are also contributing. It is your estrogen, it is your testosterone, but it's also the 70 others that are playing with estrogen and testosterone. And that beautiful symphony of a dance is what creates that sense of well-being. And a single one of them being out of cahoots with another, and it's like a run in your stocking from hell, right? You're still functioning. Those stockings are still on and they're supposedly still doing their job, but you see that run and you see it expanding.
Yeah.
That's their hormonal health. Like it's delicate, it's extremely fundamental to your well-being. We literally would not be able to function like without our hormones. They're not something that's on the side like our nails are. Yeah, we need our nails. We like them. It's nice to have them, but we'd still live without them, right?
Mhm.
Not without, no, not without our hormones. I think that having a book that sort of breaks it down as to these are all the things you've gotten right. These are all the things you didn't even know that you didn't know. And this is how we can get you feeling better in a easy to read, digestible, finite book that takes a spin on something like reading like a column in a newspaper or like a sex magazine or something.
Mhm.
It's not serious. It's
Mhm.
not intense. And one might even argue, when that one person would be me, that
Mhm.
it's intended to be funny.
Okay.
Actually, this is just my way of testing the waters to see how funny people think I am so that I can quit
Okay.
my job and then become a comedian.
Yeah. I love
No,
that
not
for
really.
you.
Not really. I'd be such a sad comedian because I'd be like, "Oh, no, I don't get to see women and take care of their problems."
But you could just have people up on stage and do it in a funny way.
Truth.
Let's start doing that.
Actually, let's start just having patient visits on stage.
Uh-huh.
It would be so comedic.
Uh-huh.
Just we wouldn't even have to be trying. We'd just be, like, talking, and
Uh-huh.
people would realize how hilarious women can be when we realize the shit that we have to go through. Yeah,
Yeah, we're onto something.
I think so too. Throw in a couple of stirrups and
Where's
golden.
our first volunteer?
Come on, Volvatrons, we know you're out there.
Okay, so I know did I see right that it's also on Audible?
It will be on Audible, yes.
Okay, when does
So
that come out?
Audible usually takes a little bit longer. They're
Mhm.
very specific about their recording requirements.
Mhm.
And so it is thoroughly dependent. I can't do it myself. I
Mm.
can. I'm going to not screw drive my eyeball in an
Mhm.
attempt to do so. So I have to have a professional do it. And the timing is right now dependent on when they will be done. And
Okay.
that's part of the reason why it's a little bit of a moving target. It will
Mhm.
be the last version that comes out, and the only version that can be on pre-sale or pre-order right now is the Kindle. The paperback will be out November 1st, and the Audible version will be out hopefully no later than this year
I
because,
love it.
yeah, that needs to
I'm
happen.
an
Otherwise,
Audible. I do
me
everything on
too. I literally Audible everything,
mhm,
and it was actually cumbersome for me to edit my own book because that
'cause you
required
have to
reading it.
actually look at a
I know, and I
screen
was like, "Can how do
and
I
do
convert
things with
this
your
to
hand.
Audible?" Yeah.
How do I do 12 things when I'm
No, for
doing all the things?
reals.
Yeah, I totally feel you.
I figured out how you can
Mm.
have your phone read text to you. Yeah, Siri will read stuff to you. Did you know? You didn't know, huh? You don't even need to download an app. It's a function built into your iPhone if you're an iPhoner, which I hope you are, because I don't know what to do with
Yeah.
you if you're not. But it used to be a dating criteria until I started dating somebody who has an Android, and now I'm like, oh man, I can't even say that anymore.
Oh.
I need the bubble. I
I
need
do.
my bubble. Okay.
So theoretically, I could download the Kindle and tell Siri to read it to me.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yes, it's a function that was designed by Apple so that you can have safe driving. If somebody texts you, you can have the phone read it to you.
Why don't I
I'm now
know this?
using it as a way to have my chapters edited. The only thing is, and I actually think this is adding to it than taking away, is
Mhm,
that it's Siri reading it in Siri's monotone, clear eyes, dry eyes guy kind of voice.
mhm,
And so you can really tell when something's funny because even when it's said to you in this completely lifeless voice, it still makes you crack up a little. And so then I know, like, when it's delivered with actual emphasis,
mhm.
it'll hopefully deliver more laughs.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my primary audience is the pregnant folks and the postpartum folks.
Yes.
You have an audience. Tell me
Okay.
what you want them to know.
Here's where the book becomes full scope. Like you said in the intro, it's from puberty to menopause and beyond, but it includes pregnancy, it includes postpartum, and it also includes that period of your life where you're not sure if you are going to have kids,
Mhm,
or that period where you just think of course you are, and you're not even worried or thinking about if it's going to be a possibility. And that period where you have started to try and maybe experiencing challenges, as well as those times where a few of us experience success with pregnancy, but not with having a baby and over again. And
mhm,
so I wanted to make sure that I included the full breadth of the experience of pregnancy. And that doesn't just happen with the positive pregnancy test or the nausea and the, weight gain, which all too has to do with hormones.
mhm,
Whoa. But also the part of, hey, did you know when you were trying to have sex every day because you thought that was going to help you get pregnant, that those are great exercises you're engaging in, but it's only going to really matter when it's 1 out of 3 days of the month.
mhm, mhm,
And then the other part of it is, hey, did you know that you were on birth control for 30 days out of a month so that you can stop 1 day out of a month from happening?
mhm.
Right.
Life is so great.
And just things like that we don't think about, or like how then when we do something like being on birth control, which I'm all for, don't get me wrong, I love
Mhm,
me some birth control.
mhm,
But when women are on birth control for like God knows how many months and years, they really think that birth control was like holding back the floodgates, right? So it was flexing hard. And now that they're off, it should be like, poof, God help you. You turn around and you should be pregnant just instantaneously. And so many women feel discouraged when it takes longer than a few months or even a month sometimes because of that culture that we've created where it's if you don't use some form of protection, you're going to get pregnant. And
mhm,
I think that creates a sense of then like almost like a feeling of failure because you didn't just instantaneously get pregnant. And a lot
mhm,
of women don't realize it's no, actually the conception success rate is like anywhere from 20 to 30% a year for each couple, which is like not a lot.
really, you gotta
But
try
nobody tells
hard
you
to
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
very intentional.
Yeah. And it's as intentional as eyeliner.
Yes.
Very small, delicate thing,
Yeah.
can go wrong.
Mhm,
It's not as easy as it looks.
mhm,
And then when it's done, you forget how hard it was.
mhm.
You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
pretty
yeah,
much.
eyes are pretty. Yay. So for anyone who is wanting to, whether it's starting from the basics of understanding the process that your body goes through to even be able to become pregnant, to anyone wanting to understand the process that your body goes through while being pregnant and maybe make some more informed decisions about things like what to eat, what not to eat. What can you use for your skin when you are having acne during pregnancy? Or is that thing going to actually affect your pregnancy as crazily harmfully as they make it sound like it will? Oh no, don't use hair color. And okay, great. So now that I'm knocked up, it's okay to look completely with grays and acne and just rough because who
Mhm.
cares? You're already pregnant.
Let it
Thanks,
all
Mother
go.
Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only just to get to that point in life. And now,
Mhm.
check. And then, of course, the phase of postpartum that is so neglected by moms themselves because
Mhm.
they're instantly moms now and they're automatically not thinking about themselves anymore.
Right.
So it's okay. I get why you're not taking a shower.
Mhm.
But I think even as physicians
Mhm.
and as women that are the friends, the sisters, the moms of other women, we really don't. Postpartum is not about the mom, it's about the baby, right?
Mhm.
And so that is another thing I draw attention to in the book, which is, yo, go take some time for yourself, woman.
Mhm.
Like, you
Or
need,
help out the other moms that are doing this for
yes,
the first time.
yes. There's
Yeah.
that episode in Sex and the City where like Miranda is just like, she's struggling.
Mhm.
Man, you can see the greasiness in her hair from like
Mhm.
TV. And she has not slept well and she has not had any kind of a social life. And she's finally out with the girls doing their weekly brekkie thing. And nobody gets her. Like
Mhm.
nobody even understands what she's going through, which is, of course, understandable. They're not going through it. But at the same time, I think that we're already prone to becoming an island of our own emotions and our own struggles.
Mhm.
And we're so attached to looking like we've got it together that I think it takes people actively engaging with the mom in postpartum to have that mom maybe even ask for help,
Mhm.
right? Don't wait for somebody to ask you that they need your help. And
Mhm.
this would be the most probably applicable time for that. And it doesn't have to be postpartum depression for it to still suck, right?
Yeah.
Let's maybe not let it get to postpartum depression
Right.
or
Yeah.
postpartum blues. Usually, when I'm seeing patients at the hospital rounding on them before they go home, I'll talk to the partners and I'll be like, hey,
Mhm.
this is your job, right?
Right.
She's not going to notice. She may, but we're not going to bank on her noticing and having that insight that she's not herself.
Or
That's
maybe
like,
she will and she's just feeling shame about it.
or yes, exactly. This is going to be a village job, right? To make sure that everything is going okay or as best as it can be, and that there isn't room for improvement or for helping her out in ways that she might not even necessarily realize it yet.
Mhm.
And I think that this book will address that. And again, the whole point of this book is beyond anything else is to just make it okay. Make everything okay to talk about, to feel, to not understand, and to want more from your healthcare system for. And so the chapter on pregnancy is addressing that. There's not enough room to address it in the level and depth that I wanted to, but it definitely still is a pretty well-rounded chapter on all things pregnancy related. But that's why I'm like, hey, maybe I should write a book on it then.
You should.
Wait a second. Uh-oh.
Yes.
I think one of the 13 books is the book of
Pregnancy.
pregnancy.
And then postpartum. And then
Yes, it's
infertility.
yes. Yes.
What else?
And labor. Hey, that's like
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, let's do that.
Oh my god. Can you imagine
I
like
can't you're gonna be
women
on my
come
podcast so much.
oh my god, I can't
Yeah.
wait.
We're gonna be
Can you
new
imagine women
besties.
being like, excuse me, but I don't think my baby's variability is okay.
Mhm.
What?
I know. Oh, we shouldn't tell them about that
Why not? Because then they
because then
possibly will
they'll
be
think we
informed.
know.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
empowerment is only
Yeah,
good
I
when we can control
know.
it.
But knowledge is a powerful tool that we don't like to give to
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
All right. People may not be picking up on all our sarcasm here,
I
so
know.
I
I
think
know. By the way, that was sarcasm.
yeah.
Probably the past 30 seconds. Oh,
Okay, cool, thanks. Yeah, I have so many things I wanna ask you. Let's just throw something out there that every woman hates. The nausea, the morning sickness, hormones, right? So then why are we
100%.
treating it non-hormonally?
Because the hormones that trigger the nausea are very important to be had.
Mhm,
They're it's like saying it's important to be able to get to work, which is why you're driving your car, but the side effect of driving your car is that you're not walking as much as you could have been. But unfortunately, we still need to get to work in a reasonable amount of time. So
Mhm.
we can't just X-nay the car.
Mm.
Does that kind of
Yeah. So
okay?
then when treating it, my question would be, is it better to treat it in like a nutritional supplement way, or is it better to treat it in the druggy way?
Yeah, that sounds like a leading question. I'm gonna bite. I'm
Okay.
gonna bite on nausea.
Okay.
The first and foremost way to treat nausea in pregnancy is nutritionally, hands down. And I feel like sometimes we forget that medications evolved from nutrition, right?
Mhm.
Like all of the stuff that we get in medications from is edible. And that's how somebody figured out that they should or should not eat it.
Mhm.
But
And hopefully
and that
live to say, "I just ate this, don't try it." No.
uh, my nausea is better. I'm gonna have the shits now, though. The fundamental treatment for nausea in pregnancy is vitamin B6. If there's some women maybe that are like experiencing a smooth ride through nausea in pregnancy and some that are experiencing it horribly, I wish we had a way of now going back in time and seeing what their diets were like. And if one woman had a more predominant diet with high volumes of vitamin B6,
Mhm.
or not so much high, but the other woman who was having it really wretchedly, whether they were just like excluding B6 unknowingly in their diet. And I think that maybe that could shed light on how often we do limit our own success by our natural habits and how we just eat and how we don't eat and etc. But since we're a culture of fast, quicker, yesterday, more, and patience is not our virtue, it's so much easier to just take pills for vitamin B6 and then say, hey, but at least they're vitamins, right?
Mhm.
So that's still better than taking something like pharmaceutical,
Mhm.
which vitamins are also technically, we just don't like, it's like coming up with a name for it to make it sound better. But rather than realizing, like, oh, we could possibly just be eating more food that is nutrient dense with B vitamins from the get go, and maybe that might improve the nausea effect. The other thing is the amount of vitamin B6 that you need to alleviate nausea, because nausea in pregnancy doesn't happen from a vitamin B6 deficiency. So
Mm.
that's an important distinction to make. So it's not eating foods that are high in vitamin B6 will act immediately to alleviate the nausea. But when you're experiencing an intense nausea in pregnancy, vitamin B6 in high amounts does improve that symptom. However, sometimes even that's not enough. And so
Mhm.
typically what we're supposed to do as physicians is try out the B6 first. And then, if that's not effective, then work our way up to antiemetics and anti nausea medications, because ultimately we want the woman to stay hydrated and nourished and also emotionally not
Be able to get out of
miserable.
bed?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an emotional toll when, and I think that's another thing that gets overlooked is like, it's not just about the fact that it sucks to not be able to eat or keep anything down, but because we need nutrition and energy or whatever. But it also sucks because you feel miserable at a time where you're supposed to be so happy and excited and joyous. Supposedly, that's what I'm told. I don't really know. But
That's what they told me too, and I don't
yeah,
really know if I had that
yeah, like
experience.
apparently apparently you have a parasite in you that's supposed to be
Do.
cute and you're supposed to be
Mhm.
happy and
Oh,
joyous,
they're
and
adorable now, but I was
yeah.
really not loving it when they were inside.
Yeah. By the way, audience, just know that I have no actual human children, so I can get away with stuff like this. Actually, I think everyone can. There you go. My children, I just dated Dash and Mimi for 6 weeks each,
Hmm.
and it was smooth sailing. It is so much easier to have puppy babies.
Mhm.
There's no
Yeah.
nausea, you don't gain weight, and they
You
look
actually
really
lose
cute
weight
on
because
all.
they have more energy than you and you have to walk them.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
I will have
Yeah.
as many puppy litters as I can, as my
Mm.
body allows. Yeah. So
Mm.
there is light at the end of the tunnel for most people.
Yeah, there wasn't for me, but that's all right.
Okay, I'm sorry. But you're so pretty now. Look,
Aw, thanks.
yeah.
Yeah, I puked every morning the entire pregnancy. It was so much
Oh
fun.
my god, I wish I had that problem sometimes.
No, it wasn't, like, even, like, food.
Not the fun kind. Oh, you're just yakking up air and you're still like, oh, there's
No, I
something
was
inside
yeah,
me.
it was all just bile.
Oh, lovely.
Mm, cute. I
So
loved it
hot.
so much. It was great. Yeah. Ugh, but I love my children.
Yes. How often do you find yourself saying that out loud aggressively?
Very
I love my
aggressively, I love my
children. I love
children.
my children.
Okay, so after pregnancy, what is all that craziness? There's so much.
I got one word for you.
Yeah.
Hormones.
There's so much going on. Okay, you're lactating, whether or not you intend to, you're lactating.
Squirt,
You
squirt.
squirt, squirt, yes. It's out of control. Sometimes it goes across the room. I had hot, cold, all these different emotions, temperature, hot, cold also. Combine that with like sleep, cortisol. It's a hot mess.
And the HOT line, not the HAWT.
Yeah. It's
So
dumpster fire is what it is.
and yet it's so beautiful. So what we just mentioned, the change in hormones. So in the initial phase of becoming pregnant, that's one big uptick. And then
Mhm.
the immediate time after you have the placenta come out, like
Mhm.
it is that specific of a moment, right?
Let's pause right there. Talk about
Okay.
the shakes.
Okay.
We always blame it on anesthesia. Is it anesthesia?
It is not anesthesia. I
It's
mean,
not.
he's just been in there, like, for hours, right? Where did they
Right.
come from?
Yes.
Not anesthesia.
Even
Not
with a
well, not
C-section?
mhm, mm-mm,
Okay.
mm-mm.
There. See, every anesthesiologist I've ever worked
Yeah.
with, I did it. It's
No.
out there in the ether
I mean,
now.
it
It's
might
not your
be, I'm
fault.
sure, like, some level. I can't say
No,
100%.
the baby tanking after anesthesia is the
That's
only thing that is
anesthesia.
anesthesia.
That's anesthesia
That's
faux
it.
show.
That's it.
Yes.
The rest of
Yeah.
it is not anesthesia's
The
fault.
shakes that it makes everyone ask you, "Are you cold?" And you're like, "No, I can't stop shaking them." It's almost like a vagal response, I guess is the best way to say it, right? Your body is about to do something dramatic. It's feeling all of this change in a very small period of time.
Mhm.
And that's how it's coping with it. It's almost like we don't have the resources left to not shake,
Mm,
like to be stable, to look cool and like we're chilling, because all of our resources are going towards what's about to happen next.
mhm.
And in the labor and delivery world, we see the shakes. We're like, oh, here we go. About damn time. I've been waiting
Mhm.
for this baby to come out. Because
Mhm.
that's usually a tip off that, like, suddenly the body is bracing itself. And sure enough, maybe 9 out of 10 times when that happens, I'm like, let's check this patient and see what's going on. And they're
Mhm.
usually like completely dilated and the baby's head's right there. And it's like your body's, hurry up. I can't hold on anymore. We're like, yay, great, let's do this. That's the shakes in pregnancy. I do not believe they're related to the anesthesia. I think
Mhm.
the same thing happens when you have a C-section because, again, like you are suddenly creating it's not a gradual shift, it's a sudden change in your hormone levels. And
Mhm.
in C-sections, we're doing the same thing. We're taking the baby out, but it's not the baby, obviously. It's the placenta that leads to
Mhm.
sudden change in hormones. The placenta is the source for so much of the hormonal production in pregnancy, and if not like almost 95%, I would say. And so when that placenta releases and comes out, you've essentially pulled the plug on
Mhm.
that hormone production.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful analogy right there. So when that happens, it's like short stopping on the hormone highway. And most women will notice that impact immediately as well as then gradually. I think
Mhm.
immediately, I think we would probably not have a gradual effect with the placenta were it not for the fact that we're so busy with the baby in the immediate
Mhm.
phase that we don't notice it until things slow down,
Yeah.
right? You also have the adrenaline or the cortisol that kicked in right after
Mhm.
that got you to the place of having the baby. And then you have the baby in your hand, and you're not really paying attention to how the placenta leaving your body is making you feel.
Mhm.
Usually a day or two later, when things have simmered down, then you start to notice, like, wow, it's a good thing I have all this oxytocin circulating in my body right now every time I see the baby, which is not there for me. It's there for the baby's milk production. But still, it
Mhm.
feels great. I think, yay, that you realize without that, you'd be pretty darn depressed
Mhm.
because your progesterone levels just tanked in comparison, right? Because you don't
Mhm.
need progesterone on that level to be you. But in pregnancy, you do. And now you've gotten used to that high level of progesterone. And it does have a significant impact on the brain for women.
Mhm.
and your sleep and your overall. One of the effects progesterone has on the entire body is it's a relaxant. You take that away and you're also low on sleep. You're essentially functioning as a milk producer. And for most of the moms, it could be like a first time experience. And you're a pretty unstable ticking time bomb emotion.
Yes.
I don't even know how the heck women do it.
Why are my eyes leaking all the
Yeah.
time?
I do one night of call, and if it's busy, I go home the next day and I am just like a temper tantrumic 2-year-old.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
somebody calls me and is, "Hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you." I'll be like, "Did you know I was on call?" That's one night of like intermittent or interrupted sleep. No hormone cray cray, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now you're a milk geezer. You're a progesterone depleted, sleep diminished woman with body fluids coming out of every orifice. And you're supposed to still feel glowy and warm and fuzzy on the inside. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, that's when women need help. Somebody come
Yes.
clean the house, somebody come make her meals. So you need the pit crew to just take care of everything,
Yes.
and then Yep,
Tires rotated.
exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of
Okay.
it.
Did your laundry. Yep.
Mhm.
Took out the trash. Yeah.
Checklist. Yes, that's what you need. Okay, so I've noticed a trend among women of a certain age. We start to have a career, right? We put off pregnancy until, like, mid to late 30s, early 40s. Then we have small children,
Mhm.
and suddenly the hormones are doing crazy things again. What's that all about?
Because our ovaries are just, they're so punctual. And sometimes they're not, but most of the times they're pretty like efficient in doing things the way they're always going to do them.
Mhm,
And so if you have babies now or you have babies later, those ovaries are still going out of commission when they're going out of commission. And all you've done by having pregnancies or being on birth control, which is another one, like people think, oh, was it because I was on birth control for all these years that I am having
mhm,
a hard time having babies? And it's no, it's because you were on birth control for all these years and now you're trying to have babies all these years later. And
mhm,
that's what's the issue. So, a woman in her 40s, I'll preface this with I firmly believe that a woman's health during pregnancy is not age dependent.
mhm,
I think that if you were to take two women of the same exact health status, maybe the 25-year-old will be less risk prone or healthier than a 45-year-old, just
mhm,
but in that perfectly ideal comparison.
mhm,
Otherwise, I think that I have had more healthier 40-year-olds than I've had 25-year-olds,
mhm,
and their pregnancies follow that trend.
mm,
So that's my little plug for all of you women to just get into great shape at any age before you consider pregnancy because
mhm.
it is the marathon of your life.
Lots of vitamin B6 rich foods.
Yes, so that you don't yak everything else up. Yeah. So I think that coming back to age is going to determine how you feel when it comes to your ovarian function. And we do follow the average age of when our moms, sisters, grandmothers became menopausal is typically when we will as well. Otherwise, the national average is anywhere from 50 to 55. So you do the math. If you're 45 years old and you are nursing a newborn or dealing with your 2-year-old toddler, and then suddenly you notice that your menstrual cycle never went back to normal after the baby? Well, that's because you happen to have a baby when you were going to have irregular cycles anyways, because you're in your 40s and your body's like, oh, we're almost there. We're going to almost have to not do this ever again. This is great. Let's start practicing.
Yep.
Yeah. But otherwise, it would have been different if you were younger. But then again, so would have the pregnancy and
Mhm,
so would have been having a 3-year-old.
mhm.
You pick your
Correct.
poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's this I cannot turn on Instagram without hearing the folic acid debate, which drives me crazy. I'm totally changing the subject, by the way, on this.
Yeah, you are.
First of all, is there a difference between folate and folic acid? Yeah,
No.
okay. Because
No.
it's folate is folic acid. It's just a different way of saying it. The debate is about methylated versus unmethylated, but why are we calling it folate versus folic acid? Help me wrap my head around all of this
Okay.
crazy.
Folate is what I believe is the element found in our foods, and folic acid is what we usually are breaking it down to or metamorphosing.
Mhm.
Mhm. Um,
Changing.
thank you. Woo. You're so sexy when you be simple. Oh
Digesting.
my god. Folic acid.
Mhm,
And that is the version that we need in order to ensure the growing neural tube does not
mhm,
have any T's that need to be crossed that don't, or I's that don't get
mhm.
dotted.
Right.
Yeah. So
So then what
it's,
happens? First of all, there's this mutation that everybody talks about, the
yes.
MTHFR mutation. How many women is this affected? Are we testing for it? And should everybody take methylated folate?
So you don't need methylated folate unless you
Okay.
have a deficiency in the enzyme that methylates folate for you. Yeah, some people have it. And if that's the case, then you probably will have other kinds of signs or symptoms. They may not be obvious because it's not like we all have a dictionary that we can just refer to when we need. Oh, wait, we do. It's called Google. But
Mhm,
point is, not every woman and the majority of women do not have MTHFR mutation.
mhm,
For those who do, yes, methylated folate might be more effective
mhm,
because that's the form that we need to utilize to ensure the proper development of the neural tube or the nervous system. Most of us don't. Most of us can just eat folate and
mhm,
it'll be taken in and turned into whatever it needs to be taken into.
mm,
Here's the crazy part though. If you don't know and you feel better taking methylated folate because you don't know if you
mhm.
are or are not capable of transforming it,
There you go.
good. I can learn.
Love it.
It's not going to harm you to take methylated folate. Maybe somebody might charge you more. That's your problem to deal with. And nothing else is going to happen other than you or your body might become internally a little lazy because it's like, yeah, this fish just gives us everything we eat. We don't even got to work for it.
Like chewing the food for you.
Yeah. Why am I going to do that? I'm going to just have a smoothie. But yeah, ultimately, there's always such a thing about what's the right answer and the wrong answer. I think really there's so many different answers as long as there's not an answer that's causing harm.
Mhm.
You do you, boo.
Can make their own decisions on whether they want
Yes.
methylated
Thank you.
versus unmethylated folate, and
Yes.
people don't need to get mad about it.
Really, there's so many other things.
There
Yeah.
are.
Like when you get a lipstick color that you finally felt really good about get discontinued, go ahead.
Be
Hold my
mad.
beer. Hold my beer.
Okay, I got off topic. Was there anything else that we needed to talk about that you wanted
You
to
know,
share?
sure, like all the other 19 chapters of the book, but,
Yeah.
um, there is stuff about sex, and
Okay.
girls, wait for it, you're gonna feel redeemed.
I
It's gonna
am.
it's gonna be good. I'm not gonna
Love
go
it.
into it too much beyond that, but let me just say that the sex chapter is not gonna be the typical stuff that most women are used to hearing about their sex drive.
I love that.
Leave it at that. There is also a chapter, oh my god, shut up, a chapter on nutrition.
So maybe I wasn't so far off with the methylated versus unmethylated folate.
And there's gonna be so much more other things than just folate that we talk about and all
Love
the
it.
ways you can whatever holistically get in your diet. Whoa.
Love it.
There's gonna be a whole chapter on how exercise affects your body and some major myths busted about things like cardio and weightlifting.
Mhm.
There's an entire homage to cholesterol. Wait, no, guys, stop. Hold back. I know it's going to be really hard not to run to the store to get this book. You're probably like, I can't wait to see how cholesterol is redeemed, but it is. Um, and there's also this is actually one of my personal favorite parts of the book. It's just all the things I think women should have chapter.
Mhm. Mhm. Is it your Amazon list?
It's like almost right there. It's just the did you know? You didn't? Now you do and good. Like that. Yeah.
I love
Um
it.
so compiled by only me and my personal opinions. So it
Mhm.
has really no relevance or bearing on you unless you wanted to. But
Uh, but
hey,
you listen, you blow my mind with things like lashes, and do you still have your YouTube where you're like, "And this is how you put on your lash." Remember you used to be like, you'd sit at
I
the
know.
desk of the nursing station and be like, "I found something amazing."
I'm
Like,
still doing that. I'm still
okay,
the other day I convinced everybody on Wonder Water by L'Oreal
uh-huh,
at the
okay.
nurses
What's
station.
Wonder
Yeah.
Water?
I don't know why I do that, but it's always happens to me at the nurses
Uh-huh.
station. I get my most inspired there.
Just
I
can't split. It's hormones.
You're right. Yeah. It's aerosolized hormones,
It
also
is.
as farts. Just kidding, that's not technically accurate, but so
Unless you're on your
the
period, then
right,
those are
in which case,
special.
all bets are off. No, so the L'Oreal, what is it called? It starts with
Wonder
an
Water.
yeah, Wonder Water, but, like, the Evolve or something. It's in a brown bottle, and it's supposed to be for frizz, and the thing I don't know, one day we might all realize it causes cancer, but for the time being, it causes silky hair is what it causes, okay? And it is I love it so hard, and I don't know why, but, like, that night when I was telling my nurses about it, it almost a personal thing that if every single woman didn't get convinced about the wonderness of this Wonder Water, I don't know, I wasn't gonna be able to sleep. So, I think most of them are, probably going to be testing it out, but
I'll have to look
yeah,
at the
so there's an
ingredients to tell
entire
you.
yeah, you're like,
Like,
"That'll be
we'll see
another
what's in there. Is
episode."
it silicone? It might be.
Don't tell me if it
Okay,
causes
I won't
cancer,
ruin it for
okay?
you. No, silicone
Okay.
doesn't cause
I
cancer, it's
wanna
just gonna cause your hair to break ultimately because you won't get
you
any
know, but there'll
nutrients
be
into it.
at least the hair on the floor will be shiny, and I will be, like, blinded by it. Yeah. No, you're right. I probably shouldn't look at immediate gains for but, yeah, so there's an entire chapter dedicated to things like that, that may or may not be good for you, but you will really like the way you look.
I guarantee it. So the
Men's Warehouse. Dr. Patel's warehouse of things that are probably gonna cause cancer, but
I'll go
alright,
through
they're
it. It's fine.
awesome. Yeah.
I'll make sure it all meets
Thanks,
European
appreciate it.
standard.
We can add, like, a revised edition
Caveat, Kelly's caveat to all of
of Pop
this.
Factor.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I could do this all day. However,
Yeah.
at some point I gotta go pick up my kids. Anything else you wanna talk about before?
No, I think this was really fun. I think that, I love what you do, and I love that
Thank
you
you.
make it so easy to be real about women's health. From my understanding of what you do, you are open to learning the opposite opinion. And that is it's not common, right? Like in our field, we are so used to just thinking of things the way we're used to thinking of them. And I don't know where we lose our creativity or our ability to entertain differences,
Mhm.
but like it gets lost. And
Mm,
I think that having the ability to listen to someone's point of view and or their reasons behind what they're doing with their health is important because that's how we learn new things, right?
mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I really value that in you.
Thank you.
And for instance, I could say, "I'm putting cancerous stuff in my hair," and you'll be like, "I'll take a look." You're
Mhm.
not gonna be like,
We'll
"Oh my
see, maybe.
god,
I don't know.
burn the bitch at the
Yeah,
stake."
if you want to put cancerous stuff in your hair, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
tell you no.
See,
I
ultimately,
just
it's
want you to
like
know and make the right decision. Or not the right
exactly.
decision, the best decision for you.
Right,
If
right.
you want silky hair and
Know
later on
why.
you wanna deal with cancer, that's your life choice.
Yes, thank
Mhm.
you. I'm the
Yeah.
same way about pregnancy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you want to have children at 45, and then you're gonna be potentially dealing with the things like staying up late at night when you're 45.
Mhm.
But then also you lived your best life when you're in your 20s because you didn't have kids and you were, like, traveling with your partner or by yourself and enjoyed that everything was high and up and tight when you wanted it to be. Go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah.
Do
It's about
you.
meeting people where they are.
Precisely, and hopefully that's in Paris.
Yes. Let's go.
Alright.
Okay.
Next podcast episode
Yes.
there? Yes, please. Ah,
All right. Before we, drive our audience crazy with all of our silliness, I'm gonna go.
yes. Too late.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Stay tuned for the next episode when the next book comes out. But
Yes.
in the meantime, please go out and buy the Book of Hormones, which is available right now on pre-order in Kindle and will be available November 1st, probably sometime around when this episode airs. Yeah. So go get it.
Yes, and don't worry if you don't have a Kindle, you don't need a Kindle to read on Kindle. This is
Yeah.
ap
Oh, yeah.
apparently a
I don't
big
have one. Yeah. No,
people
I have
don't
it.
realize.
I have
You
the
just
app.
download the app. Yeah,
You can even
free.
do it on your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Okay. Dr. Patel, thank you so much for joining me as
Thank
always.
you, Kelly.